show. Check, check, check. Is this thing working? Hold on a second here. What do we got going? What did we do? Are we doing anything right today? Hello, Chris. Hello, Daniel. Hello, Kyle. Hello, Simple Guy. Rudy. Rudy, sorry. Does it say you're not feeling well? Sorry about that. Dan. Let's see who else I might have missed on the way in. There's a mouse cursor around here somewhere. I need to make my mouse cursor big and red and ugly so that I can see it. Kyle, yes. Gunner, good. FBTV Vargata, glad to have you with us. Yeah. And this is Iglesia Bautista Nuevo Emancier. Oh, it's Herman. All right, welcome. Very good. Glad to have you. And Tim is here. And Tommy's here. Jason's here. Hi, guys. This is so cool. All right. I am so glad that you guys are here. And Daniel says, type the @ symbol and their name exactly as it shows. That must be an answer to somebody else's question. Oh, in Chris's question. There you go. All right, got it. Oh, Anderson, of course. I'm sorry. Yeah. Anderson, how did that racetrack deal ever come out? How are we doing on time? We got, it's showtime. All right, it's showtime. Very good. Let's check one more thing here. Can we do that? Checking one more thing here. Where's the thing that we want to check? We want to get that out of the way. And yeah, this is good. Okay. I think we're good on there. Yeah. I'm just intrigued by what you guys are writing. Yeah. So if I say @Chris, it should give me it should pop up the name, and so it should pop in like this. And so it should come out highlighted on your end. It doesn't on my end. But if you do my Eastern Shore Broadcasting, if you say @Eastern Shore Broadcasting, it'll pop up in a highlighted here. So there you go. So Chris was doing it right all along. So congratulations to Spiny on being inducted into the Streaming Mascots Hall of Fame, or whatever it was last night. Backstory Podcast is Ken. Hey, Ken. Good to see you. Glad to have you. Troy is here. No time to watch. He's just popping in to say hi. Well, thank you, Troy. Come back when you can stay longer. We'd love to have you. And you're welcome for all the teaching. If I forget to mention this, that we are doing that instant replay class. We'll have some official information on it during the show and on the Streaming Idiots, in the Streaming Idiots group on the Eastern Shore Broadcasting page, and of course on our website at Eastern Shore Broadcasting. It starts August 6th. I think it's the 6th. Isn't that a Tuesday? August 6th. Yes, it's a Tuesday, so 2 weeks from yesterday. TJ Thompson is going to teach it. It's going to be great. Chris says, I'm launching a new brand very soon. Hey, that's great. Awesome, man. Why don't you come on the show and tell me about it, and we'll help you launch. So we can do that. Yeah, we can do that. We also have a football streamers, and this would be American football streamers roundtable coming up on August the 7th, the day after the instant replay class starts. So you won't want to miss that. We have some truly talented folks that do live streaming of American football. And so if you're thinking about doing that this fall, you definitely want to pop in and hear what these guys have to say. And these folks are all over the map in terms of experience and skills and the kinds of things that they are doing. Okay, Gunner, for some reason your post, and we'll take just another second, your post in the YouTube chat was flagged. And I'm not sure if it's by FBD's name, but you may want to use some other punctuation or something like that, because I had to click it to show it, but once the show starts, I probably won't be paying that much attention to it. Yeah, there you go. All right, thank you. Hit me up when you get closer, Chris. That's good. Tommy's hoping for an autograph. I think everybody autograph something and send it to Tom. All right. Cell phone's on stun. And there we go. We're good right there. All right. So let's get this show on the road, shall we? Shall we? There we go. Oh, one other thing before we start. If you are watching us on Facebook, you'll probably want to come over to the Eastern Shore Broadcasting page.com so that you can get in on the chat. We are monitoring the chat on the Eastern Shore Broadcasting page on Facebook, but not on the Streaming Idiots group on Facebook. We just can't get access to the API in order to pull the comments out on the group. We can on the page, but not on the group. So that's that. Can we do one more thing? Nah, we'll do that. That'll be okay. All right, so let's get this show on the road. Everybody put their seatbelts on here. And we are going to, can we get going? I think we can get going. Let's try it anyway. So we're muting this mic. Mic is muted. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Hey, I'm Tom Sinclair. This is Streaming Idiots. You never know what you're going to get when you come to this show, when you come to the beginning of the show, whether I'll be out of focus or in focus or out of voice or whatever. My apologies in advance for any foibles that may come our way today. It's going to be an interesting kind of show. I mean, obviously I've hinted, unless you're dumber than dirt, you can tell that today's show is going to be about Vmix, the dot release 66. Kind of a little interesting backstory. I remember when we were probably at Vmix, I don't know, Vmix 16 or 17, and I mentioned on this show when a dot release came out that it was a dot release. And Martin Sinclair, the developer of Vmix, took some of what would you call it? He was not, let's say he wasn't thrilled that I referred to it as a dot release. And you know, he said it's not a dot release, it's an incremental release or whatever it was he said. And so I was like, oh, okay, I've learned my lesson. I won't do that again. So there they are on the show last night, and he was calling it a dot release. And I said, whoa, hold on a second, you're not allowed to say that. Anyway, so it was a dot release. A dot release means that the major release was Vmix 22, and that was back before NAB in April, and actually it was in March. And you remember that Vmix 22 beta, the beta was out right before Christmas, so we could play with it over the Christmas holidays. That was so fun. Hey Cliff, glad you're here. So we had the beta release back in December. We had the final release of the product before NAB, so that we could talk about it at NAB. That was in April, and I guess there was actually a working version, pre-beta version, available at IBC last year. So, you know, that's how long it takes to kind of bring one of these versions to beta and then to release, and now to a dot release of 66, which is really important because it's got some cool stuff in it. And I'm going to switch chairs in just a minute and go over to my workstation and show you some of the cool stuff that's there. A lot of the cool stuff, well, not a lot of the cool stuff. There are a lot of fixes there. And that's the one thing that I love about Vmix, and I love about the whole crew over there at Vmix, is they really are dedicated to giving us, the users, the best experience possible, and not waiting, 6 months or a year before they put out a release that fixes a problem. If they can find a fix for it, they've fixed it. It's there. And you notice that we went from .60 to .66. Why is that? That's because 61 through 65 were working versions that weren't ready for prime time for whatever reason. There was, a feature was added, a fix was made, and it incremented from 60 to 61 to 62 to 63. And finally at 66, they thought, this is something that's worthwhile being out there in the wild, that people have paid for and they want to receive. Now, you remember that Vmix has now begun to enforce its update policy, which means if your license is more than a year old, you'll have to buy the $60 update in order to get the updates. So if you're still stuck at Vmix 19 or 20 or something like that, or even older, you can upgrade today to Vmix 22.0.0.66 by going to easternshorebroadcasting.com. You can scan that little guy right there, and that'll take you to our store, I think, or maybe it just takes you to the website. Anyway, to easternshorebroadcasting.com. And go into the store and do the Vmix update, the $60 update. Send us your license key, and we'll send you back a note saying, hey, your license key has been updated for another year, so you get updates for the next 12 months. I think, depending on what industry you're in and depending on what you're doing, that if you're at Vmix 20 or 19, you say, Tom, you're not saying anything about 21. Well, if you're on 21, I believe, regardless of when you purchase 21, you've got free updates for a year. Now, that may be expiring at some point this fall. It may depend on your license. So try the update, and if it doesn't work, you can go back to the previous version. If you don't have the previous version on your PC, you can go to vmix.com. And go to is it the updates page? Maybe it's probably the free trial page, and then scroll down that, and there are links there to some of the older versions. So if you have a version 21 and you're updating to 22, and for some reason it doesn't take right away, you can backtrack if you don't already have 21 stored on your PC somewhere. There we go. Dan says, Dan's with PI Engineering, the folks that make the X-keys. He said he tested the new templates for the X-keys that are now in Vmix in version .65. So that's pretty cool. That's so obviously other people besides Vmix were doing some testing out there. Hey, Clint, hey, Dave, glad you guys are here. If you can't be here on time, just show up whenever you can. That's all right with me. All right, so that's enough about Vmix updates. I do want to get into showing you what 66 is, and 66, what a great number. But before I do, we've got some news based on your response in the poll that we did a couple of weeks ago in the Streaming Idiots group on Facebook. We polled and said, what would you like to see? Would you like to see some classes? Would you like to see some classes on basic Vmix use? Would you like to see a class on how to build a studio? Would you like to see a class on how to do instant replay? Because Vmix has got that really cool replay built into the 4K and the Pro editions. And the replay was the one that everybody, well, not everybody, but that got the most votes. There were over 60 people that said, hey, we'd like to learn instant replay. And so we talked to TJ Thompson. TJ is the one that has worked very closely with X-keys to help them develop their controller. They've got 2 different controllers now, I guess 3 or maybe even 4, depending on how you look at it. But the X-key controllers work hand in glove with Vmix. And TJ has made, in fact, he helped the PI Engineering folks make the template that Vmix has incorporated into .66 for their upcoming XKE-64. Is it XKE-64 or XKE-68? It's probably 68. That is a controller that has a T-bar and a Jog shuttle on it. And that is soon to be released. I think we're looking for a September, October release. Folks that come into our class, the replay class, will get special pricing on that. and special pricing on other X keys, and special pricing on upgrades, not updates now, but upgrades to a higher version of Vmix. So if you've got HD or below, you can upgrade to 4K or Pro to get the instant replay. And then we'll give you a deal on that. And if you say, hey, Tom, we really need an instant replay machine, we're going to have some deals on our dedicated instant replay hardware. So we think we have all the bases covered on instant replay. TJ is a dream to work with, great teacher. If you were at NAB, I think for the last maybe 2 years, TJ was there at the X-keys booth talking about X-keys and replay. Popped over to the Vmix booth and did some demos over there. And really, I mean, he comes from a professional instant replay background, having used the professional level products like the TriCaster 3Play and was it the AVS? Is that the other system? I don't even know, but basically he's taken what the pros are doing and he's pulled it out and said, okay, we can get Vmix to do X, Y, and Z by using a set of shortcuts and by using these templates on the X keys. And so we'll spend some amount of time in the class probably talking about that, but most of it, thank you, Dan, it's the XKE-64 replay. Appreciate that. Most of the time will be spent on the nuts and bolts of how to make Vmix do the replay. And we want you to know how to do it so that you can take any keyboard and mouse that you have and make that work with it. It's not going to be one of these deals where the only way you're going to be able to get it to work is to buy another piece of hardware, although you may end up choosing to do that because it's going to make life so much simpler. Okay, having said all that, so that's coming up 2 weeks from yesterday. The class starts. We'll have that available in our store later today. You can go to the store, easternshorebroadcasting.com, go to the classes category, and it will be there. We're also sending out an email burst, and it will be on the Facebook groups and Twitter and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. So there we are. Dan said, yeah, it was the last 2 NABs that TJ was in their booth. That's really cool. Yeah, and Chris is saying, I never thought I'd do sports, but he's doing soccer regularly now. And that's where we started out. That's where Eastern Shore Broadcasting started out, was doing soccer here for our local high school team. And come to find out later that soccer is about the hardest game to broadcast. There are no timeouts. It never stops. The field is immense. It's larger than a traditional American football field. It's 120 yards by I think a minimum of 65, and it may go all the way up to 80 depending on what level of soccer you're playing on. And so there's a lot of space. There's always some action somewhere, and it's a tough game to do. It's especially tough to do instant replay on because the game's always going on. So it really is tricky to get the replay in, and that's where things like split screen, picture-in-picture really do make that a possibility. So that's going to be pretty neat. Also coming up, probably in January, we're going to redo. We're going to do the instant replay class a second time for folks that missed out for some reason on it the first time. We also intend to do a Vmix 101 class, probably starting in October, and try to get that over before Thanksgiving. So if you're new to Vmix and you're saying, I wish I knew more about this kind of stuff because I don't know where to go to do what I need to do, but I know it's there somewhere. Take the class, and it runs 6 weeks, and we'll probably do an afternoon class, and we may also do an evening class. And the classes are kind of cool, including the replay classes. What we'll do is set up a private Facebook group, and everybody that's in the class has access to that group, and we'll post all of the class notes and all the videos of each session in that group, so that if you miss part of a video, or if you even miss a class, or if you just want to go back and review, all that information is there. Plus, that's a great place for everybody in the class to ask questions and have discussion in between classes. If things weren't clear from the last class and watching the video didn't help, it's a great place to ask the question and maybe have it answered by a classmate or me or one of the other instructors. That's going to be cool. The other thing that we're hoping to put together, and we've got a lot of things on on the frying pan, or in the frying pan right now. And so if we do it, we want to make sure we do it right. But is to put that building a studio class together. There was also another class that in the poll was ranked pretty high, and that was doing a talk show, how to do a talk show. So we may have to go back at the polling again and kind of see, which ones would people prefer if we're going to do that. We want to make sure that that we're meeting the need. We don't want to spend a lot of time and energy putting together something that is not really what you want or need. So if there's things if there are questions we're not asking, shoot me a note. I'm easy to get a hold of. I'm on Facebook and Twitter and email and website and all that kinds of stuff. And I would love to hear your thoughts on that. All right, so enough idle chit chat. Is there any other idle chit chat? Did we miss something? We've got 2,600 guests in the studio today. I'm teasing. It's just me on my own. Oh, for those of you that saw last week's show, I was so delighted to have. We thought we were going to have a bunch of students here from the local school, but it's summertime, and of course they have better things to do. But we did have one student here. Cassidy came in and had a chance to talk with her before the show and after the show. But during the show, she was just really poised. And if you missed that show, you want to go back and hear. We had a student, we had a teacher, and we had the principal at the high school. So if you're interested in live streaming in the educational environment, that is like primary school, secondary school, then you might want to have a look at that, because the principal and the teacher were talking about some of the educational benefits, whereas a student had a different view, and it was interesting to have that discussion. So it was great to appreciate Carol coming on the show as the principal, and Rose as the teacher, and Cassidy as the student. It was really a treat. That was last week's show. It's available on Facebook and on YouTube, and I think if you go to Eastern Shore Broadcasting, it's in the archives there. Okay, so let's. I'm going to step over to the control desk, and let's bring up the changes for Vmix 22.o.o.66. That's right. Okay, so I'm going to mute this mic, and we'll go over to the other set. We'll say that. Be right back. Okay, coming over here to the other set. Let's see if we can find the other set. Where are we with the other set? Is this the other set? Hold on a second. Let's see. We got to turn down that light. Somehow it got up a little brighter. There we go. There we go. That's not too bad. Okay. So we're in the other set. Well, it looks a lot like the first set, doesn't it? It does. Different camera. The camera over there was a PTZ Optics 12X G2. This is a Logitech C920. Can you tell the difference? Well, you probably can. But interesting to use lots of different tools. Okay, let's take a look at the desktop. And so this is going to be my desktop. Of course, it's going to go to infinity over there in the top right. You see the little clock right here. Everything here in the middle, that's the transition bar. I'm over here in the orange topped box. That's preview, and then programs way over there. And then down below me are all of the inputs, and that's going to be videos and audios and backgrounds and lower thirds and all the stuff, all the assets that you've got in Vmix. And then all the way over there, diagonally over there, is the audio mixer section. And I'm gonna zoom into some of those as we do it. The first thing I want to do is these are some of the kind of the little things that were added in Vmix. Let me get a little height here. There we go. A little more height. There we go. Okay. Some of the cool stuff that was added in Vmix. Hey, Eric, glad to see you. Eric is going to be in our roundtable on football coming up in a couple of weeks. You don't want to miss that. All right, so let's direct our attentions way down over there, and let's see if I can't zoom in to that little area. And excuse me for having this. We'll just pull that off the side of the screen like that. And we'll draw this up here. And we'll zoom in right here and see if that won't work. There we go. So we are kind of zoomed in on the audio mixer section right there. And I'm going to pick something out of the audio mixer. This is the browser. This is what I use to monitor the Vmix Social through a browser. And I don't need audio with it. And so Vmix has made a way. Let's see if we can pull that window down here where we can see it. Yeah, there we go. Has made a way where now I can turn this off. Let me do one other thing over here. Can I do this over here? Let me just sharpen this so that it's just a little bit clearer so you can read it a little more easily. There we go. So I can turn this off in the mixer. So now it doesn't appear in the mixer. That's cool. So when I close this out, it's gone. I wonder how you get it back. Now, we'll worry about that in just a second. So we've got, let's see, what other, do we have anything else in here that we can get rid of? We can get rid of this one. This is our theme music. We just always leave it running all the time in the background for whenever we need it. So let's turn off, so we'll go to the gear icon, a little cog. Let me move this window down where you can see it. And this is the Fresh and Fun, which is the name of our theme music. And you can see it's playing in the pre. It's not in the post because we pulled it all the way down. It's got delay. Who knows why it has any delay on it? That doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so now we've added this section right down here, visible in Mixer. And we're going to turn it off and close it. And pow, it's gone out of the Mixer section. So we can always take things and right-click the top of them to collapse them. So we'll collapse these ones that we're not using right now. And we can collapse A and B. I wonder if we can take B out. No, we can't. We can't take that out. That's not an option for our buses to take those out. That's probably just as well. So, but it does help clean up the mixer section a little bit and makes it a little easier to manage all that, especially if you're using a lot of inputs. For example, if you have let me just sort of close that window for a second so it's not quite as much white light in front of me. There we go. If you have a Behringer mixer and you have 4 inputs on that, or excuse me, on the Behringer UMC 404 HD, and you have 4 inputs on that, and once you have everything set the way you want it, you may not want that to take up any space at all. You may bring in browser windows, and that's always has the option of having audio associated with it. But if it's just a website, there's no sense in having audio associated with it, and there's no sense in wasting some of your valuable desktop real estate with something that is not going to benefit you. So definitely have an opportunity to take that away, and I really, really like that. Let's see. Let's go back to our desktop capture, and let me just reset it for a second. Reset all. There we go. So we'll cut back to that. And one of the other things that we had is the ability to add an input and put it in a special place. So let's say you can see right here, this browser window right there, number 40. Isn't that interesting how it's reflected in all those others? And that's because this is actually a browser window, and so we can treat it like a browser, and we can do things with it. Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. Let's see if we can't undo that. Well, we can't undo that. Oh well. We'll just have to stop doing stupid things. Let's see if we can't fix that one real quick. We'll just change it. There we go. Yep. There we go. Now we're back to normal. Okay. All right, so let's say we're going to add an input and we want it to come out and be number 40. So we're going to add an input, and let's see, let's just zoom on where that would be. So let me come out here for just a second. And we're just going to zoom that in a little bit so that when I open that window, it'll be right there in the middle. And so we're going to add a video, and you notice right down here at the bottom we have the opportunity to put in a number. So if I want this to be number 40, it's going to push everything back. So we're going to add number 40, and pow. Let's see if we can get the window back where you can see it. Can we do it like that? Yeah, there we go. It's now number 40. Let's redo this one just one sec. There we go. All right, so we've got number 40 is right here, and number 41 right next to it. Number 40 is a video. In fact, this is just a little video I did earlier today to kind of announce this show coming up. Hat tip to Rick for giving me the idea on that one. And so it allowed me to place that in a particular place. Now let's see, can we do anything else with it now that we've got it in there? Let's drag this over. Can we move it once we've got it? That was one of the abilities. Let's see. Nope, it's not a right click there. There we go. I don't know if you can see that little menu right there, but it says create virtual input. Well, we could always do that. Create a snapshot, we could do that, and that's the same thing as the button down here in the bottom right-hand corner. See that little camera button? That allows you to take a snapshot. But we can also do a move to. And so I'm going to say I want to move this to number 12. So let's go find number 12 here. And you can see number 11 there. And now number 11 is here, number 12 is there. It has moved from 40, or excuse me, 41. Is it 40 or 41? Let's see what happens. Did we lose 40 altogether? 39, 40. Yeah, 40 is still there. So we've got now at number 12, and this can be especially handy in situations where let's come back to this shot for just a second. In situations where we are using a multi-view and we want to put things where they can be seen by the multi-view, but we don't want to go in and renumber it. We're just willing to take the first eight inputs would automatically appear in the multi-view kind of in its default setting. So I could take that video that I just put in and I'd say, okay, let's make that number 7. It's going to pop in at 7. Push everything else back by 1, except where it came from. Those numbers would stay the same. And you know, if you've ever tried to move an input around from number, how many inputs am I working with today? Let's just go down to the list. I've got 60. And so that means 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 rows of inputs in my setup the way I have it configured, because I've got the audio mixer taking up part of the room. You can see, let's flip over to this, and you can see the audio mixer is taking up about 1/3 of the space over there, and so the inputs have about 2/3 of the space here. Let's see, 2, 4, 5 inputs across, and I could take this little line right here, if I can get on it, and I can drag it a little bit to the right, and get a 6th one on there, 2, 4, 6. Yeah, there we go. Might even be able to drag it some more to the right. If you're new to Vmix, this is a really handy tool, is to be able to collapse that mixer down. Of course, we can hit the we can turn off the mixer altogether by clicking that button, and that just hides it. Or we can click the thumbtack here, and it becomes a window in and of itself that we can put on another monitor. And if we minimize it, it goes back there. and if we X out of it, it just turns the mixer off. When we turn the mixer back on, it pops back up like that. So let's dock the mixer back over there. We can also grab the line here in the middle and move it up so that our windows become smaller and we have more desktop space to work with down here. Or if we're in a situation where we really want to see what's going on more clearly, we can make the input section smaller so that the preview and output are larger. And that's lots of fun. Okay, so let's don't lose sight of the goal here, which is we wanted to talk about the Vmix 22.o.o.66 changes. So we had the ability to select the input number when we added one. We have the ability to move it by clicking the cog menu. We have the ability to hide unused audio mixer inputs, and those are really pretty great. Now, I am so looking forward to TJ's class coming up in 2 weeks about instant replay, so that I can, in fact, and Dan has promised to try to find me a prototype of the XKE-64 replay kit, so that we can bring it in here and test it out, and maybe show it off on the instant replay in the replay class. But I also have an X-keys XKE-124 video switcher at the kids' studio from last week at their studio at the school. And so it's going to be fun to go in with a template that's already set up, not a template that I've set, but one that somebody's put some more thought into it than I ever have. And so that's going to be fun. And that's the XKE-124. That's the switcher kit. And then the XKE-64 replay kit. The replay kit has the T-bar and the jog shuttle on it. And the switcher, let's see, XKE-124 is the T-bar, right? So that is the T-bar set. Okay, very good. All right, going down the list, Martin has made a fault-tolerant option for MP4 MP4 recordings, and that's so if you're making a recording, you're using MP4 as your type of recording, you can make it fault-tolerant. That is, if you lose power, somebody pulls the power cord, or the generator turns off, or with 1,000 other reasons why you could lose power, or your laptop battery dies, it will retain that recording up until the last several seconds. You'll have to use the Vmix video tool to go back and index that file before you'll be able to do a whole lot with it, but you won't lose your recording in its entirety. So that's going to be a big deal for those of us that are in situations where we absolutely positively have to have most of our recording in situations like that. He's also increased the buffer size, or added an increased buffer size for NDI inputs. As you remember, NDI is the ability to transmit video and audio over the local area network, and sometimes that network can become crowded, and there's not enough bandwidth for measured in milliseconds probably, for things to get from point A to point B in a timely fashion. So by adding a buffer, it can accumulate the data and then play it out of the buffer. What that means is that you have some latency. So if you have a buffer that's this big, and it fills up, and then it starts playing, all the time it takes to fill up the buffer is going to be the latency to the live video. And so if there's a hiccup down the line, it uses up the buffer. Of course, you're still latent at this point, and then the buffer fills back up as soon as it can, so that you can avoid those times where you're getting a dropped frame, or a little window, a little says wait. Yeah, nobody likes that. And so that's going to be great for NDI-HX sources that'll kind of smooth out some of those times where it appears to be dropping frames. He's added a high output performance mode for 4K 60 video, and this is if you've got a video card that's a GeForce 1080 or higher, that would be like the 1080 FE or the TI or probably the 2080 or the 2080 Ti. And here's one a feature that he's added. And is it a feature? Is it an improvement? Is it, what is it? But he's basically said whenever you use the web browser input, and I use the web browser input all the time. Here in my pre-show, that is a web browser. Oop, Tom said he was going to go back and explain it. Oh, golly, what was I supposed to explain? I'll come back to that in just a second. Whoops, I shouldn't have put that up there. But this is a web browser. And what he's done is he said the impact that this has on your graphics card, your GPU, is now reduced by 50%. Holy cow, 50% is amazing. 50% is a hell of a savings. That's amazing. If I could buy stuff at 50% off, I'd be buying it all day. But the web browser input, the effect on the GPU memory. Now remember, the GPU memory is not the entire portion of your GPU's memory. It is that special portion of the memory, and don't quote me on this one. Well, you can quote me, but don't bet. don't put money on it. It's the special part of the GPU memory that Vmix uses, and when that memory is kind of used up, it's done. You're probably swapping into off disk or something like that, or maybe it's offloading it onto the CPU to do whatever needs to be done if your GPU memory is filled up. Right now, my GPU memory it's 100%. But what am I working with? I am working with an old-timey PC with a small, was it a 1050 or maybe even a 750 Ti video card in it, maybe 2 gigs, so there's not a lot there. And I don't have the full 2 gigs for the GPU memory portion, because remember, that's just a subset of the total memory. And so what Martin has done is he's basically said, whatever this subset is, you're now going to be able to use twice as much of it because it's 50%. It takes 50% less in order to fill it. So, in order to use it. So there you go. I think that's a feature. And, that's the way Vmix is. It's got these little features that Martin has put back in there. And that's why we love him. He's so good. Now, there are also a bunch of fixes too, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, looks like 12 or 13 fixes bugs that have been reported to Vmix. For example, that triggers are not activated on the use of the T-bar. And that's, I don't know if that's the Vmix T-bar or the T-bar and X-keys, but whatever it is, for whoever was using it, that's an important deal. And so it's cool to see that was identified as a bug and then tracked down and fixed. My favorite one of all is the one at the very end, where it says small performance improvements across the board. Small performance improvements across the board. You got that? What does that mean? It means that you can take something like a Microsoft Control Surface and stream and record with it. We did that on a test just the other day just to see. It doesn't have an NVIDIA graphics card in it. It's got Intel, whatever the Intel graphics processing ability is. Not a big solid state drive. 1 USB port. And we hooked it up to a, what did we do? A Uon PD570 Pro HDMI, one of those little converters, HDMI to USB 3 converters. Brought audio into it. Brought, what else? Did some minimal graphics, I think a scroll or something like that, and live streamed to Facebook with a total CPU use now of maybe 30%. This is a little i5 guy. So this this last line of Martin's list of 25 things that make up the .62 improvement, the last line that says small performance improvements across the board might just well be the most important part of this update. And the fact is that he he does this time and time and time again. We're going to be able to run Vmix Pro with 4 cameras instant replay from a Microsoft control surface in 5 years. Now, don't pay any attention to that because my predictions are notoriously horrible. If you go back to my annual prediction show, what was it, 3 years ago, I predicted that Facebook Live would be a disaster. It would be a flop. And of course it has been. Yeah. It's barely caught on at all. So there it goes. There it goes. Okay. Well, that's the show for today. We're going to move into the post show in just a second. Just a reminder, in case you've just joined us, we do have the Vmix replay class coming up August 6th. There'll be information on Facebook and on the website about that. It's a 6-week class. TJ Thompson will be teaching that from iMint Media, and a former New Tech 3-play professional has now applied his professional expertise to Vmix Replay, and we're delighted to have him on that. The new X-keys XKE-64 Jog Shuttle T-bar controller will be available at a discount to folks that take the class. We have permission from X-keys to say that. And it'll also be available from us as soon as they're available. I mean, we'll put that up on our website pretty soon, so you can pre-order it if you want to. But you'll want to take the class. By the time you get discounts on all the things you can get discounts on, the class is going to be free. So, yeah, that's it. We could do a free class if you bought one of everything. There you go. There you go. All right. So, and then coming up 2 weeks from today will be the American Football Live Streamers Roundtable. So you won't want to miss that. We'll have more information on that next week. So we'll move to the post show in just a second. It's been a delight to be with you today. I'm not sure how the outro is going to work, but let's give it a try and see what happens. We'll be back with the post show right after this. Bingo. Now we're in post show. Woohoo! All right. Is this mic working? Yeah, it's working. All right, so who just joined us? Ron's here. Hey, Ron, glad to have you. Michael Graves is here. That's it, Michael. Just show up whenever you want to. Otis is here. Looking back over the list. PTZ Optics. So that's either Michael or Tess or maybe Paul. Could be any one of those. Mark NF 82. There you go. Sorry, didn't mean to butcher that so bad. Kenny Hampton is here. Hello, Kenny. Just looking back over the list of folks that have made comments. I recognize Clint and Dave earlier and Eric earlier. Nick's here. Hey, Nick. I need to chat with you, dude, and see what you're up to. Plow Pro, yes, sirree. Don't want to miss out on Plow Pro. If you are in the northern part of the country, you need to know about Plow Pro. I think there are possibilities with that, big time possibilities. Take that at least national or at least regional. Who else has popped in? Scott Pienta was here. There we go. He's asking if there was a better route on 66. Yeah, you think? Funny because that's not an international thing. Gunner's here. Cliff's here. Troy has popped in and out. All right, let's go back to the first page. And Dave's here. Hey, Dave. Didn't see you earlier. Let's see. All right, so we got some questions. I'll look back through the questions. Yeah, Martin supposedly was on vacation while he was doing all this stuff. That was so cool. Tim says, I had a website with an animation and it smashed the video card, so saving that was a nice big thing. Ron says, Tom, I want to purchase the SD or HD version from you sometime tomorrow. Do I get a discount? Do you get a discount? Do you want to buy just 90% of it? No, I'm teasing. I got you covered. I got you covered. We'll work out a deal. Dan says, we requested that T-bar fix and are very happy it's in. So that would be the fix on the T-bar with the triggers. Chris is here from Kiwi Land. Welcome, Chris. Eric has had a prototype of the XKE-64 T-bar controller, and he says it's great. He's been using it for a couple weeks. Eric and TJ were two of the folks that X-keys entrusted their prototypes with. So that's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah, and that's one of the cool things about X-keys, the guys at PI Engineering, is that they go to professionals and say, hey, you know, you're the professional in this field. You're the expert at instant replay. Tell us what we need to do to make ours not just good but great. Yeah, there you go. All right, Eric got the last one before their key printer went down. Well, we hope that key printer gets back up again and gets a moving. Let's see, what else do we have here? Mark is from Newfoundland. Thank you, Mark. There you go. All right. All right, restoring audio back into the mixer box. That is Ken. Is that what I said I was going to go back and explain that? Let's see. Is there a way to do that? Is it gone forever? I'll tell you what. I'm gonna turn on the desktop capture, and you can watch me search through. What I'm gonna do is try to find the audio. Here's my Fresh and Fun right here, and I'm going to go in and see if there are any buttons here to turn that back on. How about a right-click button? Create a virtual input, create a snapshot, move to. Okay, well, nothing there. What about a right-click there? Okay. And so now we're here. What if we change it? We could probably get it back by changing it. Here's the audio settings for it. Oh, there it is. Okay, right there, visible in Mixer. All right, so what did we do? All right, I'll show you. That didn't take long to find. So this is my audio tab right here. I'm using the light blue one as audio, and here's my ATR. My AT897 Audio Technica shotgun mic that's in the set over there. This is my Audio Technica ATR 2100 right here. And the third one is an audio file called Fresh and Fun, which is the theme music for Streaming Idiots. And if I go to the cog icon, and then on the General tab, I have here the audio settings. Now this is if I click this goes to the same place that it would go if I clicked the cog icon on an audio setting. I'll show you what I mean. So let's close this out, and I'm going to come down here to the desktop mic right here, and we'll click that, and you sort of see, okay, this is the audio settings menu. You can see there's the visible and mixer section right there. So we'll close this. I'll go back to Fresh and Fun, go back to settings, and I'm going to go to audio settings right here, and it brings up that audio settings section. So now the visible and mixer right here is a tick box I can check, and now it's back here, whoops, right back here, available for me to untick it if I want to. So ticking it off and on. And if it's off and it's disappeared, I come into the main input for that, go to audio settings, and turn it back on. And we are back in business. How about that? Was that cool or what? There you go. There you go. All right. Dave said he'll be signing up for the replay class today. We'll have that available in the store after we get there. Chris says, can you demonstrate restoring the audio? Pretty please. Well, Chris, as you could tell, I wasn't exactly demonstrating it. I was discovering it, hoping that it was there, and indeed it was. Yes, indeed. Anderson is here. He didn't post anything. He just kept quiet listening. Tommy and Chris and Clint, and there you go. Tommy tested the X-keys nose hair puller. Okay, whatever. Tommy, gee whiz. Okay, let's see. Let's go back to page 2 here. And just trying to catch on any questions you guys had from before. Otis apologizing for being late. All right, Tim has asked a question a while back. Says, what does that do to the X-keys assignments? And I think he's talking about adding an input or moving an input. And the X-keys assignments are basically shortcuts in Vmix. And Vmix automatically updates the input number when inputs change for a shortcut. So if we have a shortcut that refers to input number 5, and input 5 is now input number 7, that shortcut is automatically updated. Now, sometimes I've noticed that triggers don't update, or shortcuts won't update if you have something that's, well, triggers for sure, and shortcuts maybe. I'll have to go back and double check, and we can check it in just a second. But like for example, today I've got 60 different inputs in my Vmix preset. If I cut 20 of them out, so now I only have 40, but one of my triggers was referring to number 55, that trigger won't work right. I don't think it updates the way the others do. And we'll have to test with shortcuts in order to see. But that's where an X-key assignment might get floundered if somehow there was a trigger associated with it too. All right, let's see. We're looking back over the questions. Chris says it would be cool if the input names were listed as well. Yeah, I think so too. Sometimes the names are listed, sometimes names are not listed, and I'd like to see it be pretty consistent across the board. Let's see. So looking back on page 4, got a what's up from Eric Tabor. Let's see. Okay, so we'll just go back to number 1 here and see. Chris says, I missed what you were saying about the Surface Pro. Can you just touch on that again briefly? Sure, happy to. I just acquired a Surface Pro 6. I think I'm not up with the terminology on all this stuff. You would think I would have researched it better. It was on sale at Costco for $200 off. Came with the keyboard and the pen, and it was less than $1,000, and I said, great, let's go for it. I think it was $799 or something like that. So I was delighted. And it's been a delight to get to learn it and play with it. I've had it probably 3 weeks now. And earlier this week, or was it this week or last week? I guess it was this week. I was here at the studio doing some testing with some other things and decided I wanted to test the Surface with a camera. And so I popped out the little mouse dongle, the Bluetooth mouse dongle that I adopted from my other laptop, because that takes up the only USB port in this rascal. And I connected a Uon PD 570 Pro HDMI to USB 3 adapter and connected that via HDMI to my PTZ Optics 12X Gen 2 camera. And then I said, I want to live stream this, and I think I pulled in some audio from somewhere and put a ticker down below and live streamed it to Facebook at 720p 1.5 and was delighted to see that the total CPU use was like 35%. And this is just on a, what is it, got Intel 820 graphics and an i5. I think it only has 8 gigs of RAM. You would think I would pay more attention to that kind of stuff, the business that I'm in. But I really wanted it as an email machine, and as a kind of a general all-purpose carry with me everywhere computer. I love the fact that it boots up practically instantaneously. In the time I've been talking, it's booted up and allowed me to bring up the, what do you call it, the control panel, so we can see what kind of RAM it's got in it. I know you don't care, but I'm curious now that I've started on this little venture. It's got a touch screen, which at first I didn't think I'd use, but I use it all the time. In fact, I pull the keyboard off and use it as tablets a lot of times too. 8 gigs of RAM, and an i5 8250U CPU that has a turbo of 1.8 gigahertz. So it's pretty minimally powered. But that's where all Martin's little tweaks are coming in. Improvement to this, improvement to that. It improves the overall effectiveness of the machine and of the software in the machine. And for me, it's been an absolute delight to be able to discover that this little guy, not that I would ever want to use it. And sorry, it's got Intel UHD graphics 620. Not that I would use it in production, but golly, if you're in a jam, there you go. So Chris, that's the answer with the Surface Pro, Surface Pro 6. And again, I wouldn't intend it as a production machine, but you can bet that there's going to be a Streaming Idiots episode at some point from this little guy. Maybe when we're over at IBC, we'll have to see. Jonia, the topic today was Vmix .66 update. It was released last night. No, it was released 2 days ago, and they talked about it last night on the Vmix Fun Time live show. All right, let's see. Spiny says you can assign a shortcut to a specific input, or you can assign it to an input number. It's a tick box on the shortcut menu. There you go. All right. To tick or not to tick? Chris says, were you running Vmix on the Surface Pro, or did you just go straight to Facebook? Yes, I was running Vmix. I think it was .60 when I was playing with it. I want to go back and try .66 and see if there's an increase in efficiency there. Anderson says, I name all my inputs. I name all my children, instead of calling them child number 5. Gunnar says, I let the automation for Vmix do its work now every day. All right, that's cool. Simple Guy says, sometimes I put the name of the cameraman. That's a great idea. Yeah, make it as easy and as intuitive as you can. I like that. Make it work for you. That's the thing. And it's like the tabs, whatever they call them in Vmix. Make those tabs work for you. Frankly, I wish Vmix would add twice as many as they have. And in fact, I was talking with Martin about that, not last year, but maybe it was over in a Skype call one time. And he said, basically, we ran out of colors. They've got 2, 4, 6 colors. 6 colors. That's all the crayons you got when you were a kid. You got more crayons than that. I know what he's talking about, though. He wants colors that are distinctive in their difference, especially if not only is the tab got color, but if you assign an input to a particular tab or bin or folder or whatever you want to call it, that input on the cog setting changes color to become whatever bin or file or tab that is. And so he wants colors that would, that still would make sense if they were just out in the wild, not in order. Sorry about that. Am I boring you? Am I keeping you awake? Goodness gracious. Okay. Well, glad we settled all that. Let's see where we are right here. Yeah, we're good. All right. So, other questions? Other questions? If you just joined us, yes, we do have the Vmix replay class starting in 2 weeks. We'll be posting the sign up for that after class today. Ron says, Tom, are you going to call me or contact me via Facebook Messenger? Ron, tomorrow, get a hold of me any time of day you want, any way you feel best doing that, and we will make a deal. We will make a deal. Yeah, we need to do a show on the Step Back in Times TV. That's Giles Warham over in UK. He has done this automation for Vmix that I have only glanced at. That looks really, really cool, and so I'm anxious to get a look at it. It is a paid software, but I think he's releasing betas to selective people. TC is the voice of rodeo. Hey TC, does anyone know on title editor when using Excel file how to keep Vmix from dropping the ending 0? Example 16.520 shows at 16.52. Aha. I bet an Excel person can answer that question. Daniel says he hasn't figured out the whole colored tab thing yet. He posts something in a colored tab and it's still on his main tab. What sense does that make? Ah, well, there we go, Daniel. Thank you. That main tab is the gray tab. And the gray tab, and if you right-click a tab, you can name the tabs. You've already figured that out probably. The gray tab is the everything tab. That is every input there possibly was. So you can look through all of your inputs. So the gray tab I rarely use because it's got everything in it, and it's too much. It's got all 60 inputs for me. But I have a tab that's called, well, I'll show you my tabs. Here we go. You can see my tabs. I've got a tab that's for show. I've got a Vmix call tab. I've got a camera tab. I've got a graphics and titles tab. I've got an audio tab, and then I have a pre-show tab. My pre-show has all the inputs that really, this is kind of like the show tab today. Let's put that one up there. There we go. It's really like the show tab today because I'm doing everything kind of in this pre-show format. But you can see my typical show format here shows my main shot. This was a virtual shot from last week. We won't need that anymore. We'll take that one out. The side-by-side with a guest, even though I appear to be my own guest. I've got an overhead camera here. Boy, that's something we can kill off. Where's the overhead camera? Did we already kill that guy off? Overhead camera. I don't see it on the list here. We must have killed it. Something with an audio input associated with it. Yep, it's not visible in the mixer, so we apparently somehow we already killed that one off. I've got a lower third, the opening of the show and the closing of the show, and other things that I'm using kind of in my main tab. The Vmix call tab, you can see my Vmix call numbers now. I'm going to have to redo them again. But sometimes I'll have 6 or 8 inputs in there right now, and I like to do a virtual call and then a regular call so that I can add a lower third to one of them. But when I take the call and put it as side by side with my guest, I don't want the lower third to appear. So I'll take it out in that situation. Camera is all the different cameras I've got going in the studio. I've got the Logitech, which is actually looking live now over the set. I've got myself here in front of my little green screen at the desk. This is the PTC Optics shot of the of my main chair that gives me this shot right here. And then this is the chroma key shot of the PTC Optics camera. This was a second shot. In fact, we can take that one out. 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 Those were shots that I used. Where are we here? Let's go back here. There we go. Those were shots that I used in last week's show that I won't need in this week's show. And you see then I've got graphics. Boy, I should put a date on that, the instant replay class. I meant to put that up and show you all guys. But this is, you know, where my lower thirds are kept, my infomercial, and then the audio, and then the pre-show. So there you go. That's how I've got my colored tabs organized, but you can organize yours however you want. The trick is just figure out a setup, and if you don't like it, you can change it. Chris says, TC, it's probably one of those formatting of the cells in Excel. TC says, on Excel I know how to keep it, but Vmix changes it. TC, that's the case where I think either an email to Vmix, it would be support@vmix.com, or a post on the Vmix forum, and that's forums.vmix.com. And I'm sure somebody already knows the answer to that question. Daniel says, oh, I get it. The main tab is the whole house. Yes, and the color tabs are the rooms in the house. Absolutely, positively. By the way, TC, you owe me a package. Don't forget. I know you did. I do too. But don't forget, send that sucker back to me. Let's see. What else have we learned today, or are we going to learn, or do we need to learn? You know, if I were a betting man, I would bet that Vmix is pretty well done with updates for 22. But there may come some bug that pops out of nowhere that that they decide absolutely positively has to be fixed, and so we're going to get another update. I was going to say I'll bet you, but I better not bet because I'll probably lose. I'm not a good bettor. Not a good bettor. I'm not a good predictor. I'm not a good person to order in dinners in restaurants. You know, a lot of times Sandy and I will go out and I'll say I'll have what she's having because she has really good taste. I'm not. Some things I'm just not good at. You know. And finally, I'm old enough to realize what those things are, the things that I'm good at, the things that I'm not good at. Yeah, like all the rest of us, I guess. What else is going on in the great wide world? Oh, shout out to Stacy Lowry. We've got a PC we're going to start building for her tomorrow, probably. And Stacy has got a class on decorating and crafts that she has got thousands and thousands of followers on Facebook, and is doing YouTube and wants to go live now, and we're helping her go live. So we'll probably, once we get her PC built and installed in her studio, we'll bring her on the show and let her talk about what she's doing, because I think it'll really inspire you guys and gals. Didn't see Marie here today, but maybe she'll watch us later. So that's going to be fun, and we're working with some folks on some other cool projects that we'll be able to talk about. Unfortunately, some of the coolest projects that we're working on, we can't really tell because we've been sworn to secrecy. Not an official NDA, but you know, kind of a gentleman's agreement that we're not going to share the cool things we're doing with some of these other companies because, yeah, you know, they want to keep their cool stuff confidential because they want to be the coolest kids on the block for as long as they can be, and we're glad to help them with that. So if you're thinking about doing cool stuff and you think we can help, give us a shout out. Yep. Yeah, we forgot to do the infomercial today for all the other things. But it's really the class that's the big one. That's the one. Oh, Cliff wants to speak with me about a PC. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Be happy to speak with you about a PC. And you know, one thing, Cliff, and I don't know if it'll make any difference for you, but it might for other folks, is that we do have leasing companies that we work with that essentially we sell the PCs to the leasing company, and then they lease them to you for a fixed number of years, kind of like leasing a car. Except in this case, you know, with a business lease like this, you can choose to have the type of lease where you have a dollar buyout at the end, for example, and then you own the product. The advantage is tax-wise is that you're buying it not as an asset, but the monthly lease payment is an expense. And it also, of course, allows you to sort of stretch your payments out over years instead of writing a big check to us all at one time. So, Cliff says, will there be a consultation fee? Yeah. If you're asking that question, the answer is yes. Yes, there will, and will be worth it at twice the price. All right, the Simple Guy says, I like the way you sort your shows by tabs. I do the same. That's Anderson now. He's down in Barbados. So everybody have pity on Anderson down in Barbados. And then I create a switcher for each tab in the panel builder, so I seldom have to do a whole lot of setting up each time I do a show. Well, there you go. That's a good idea. Yep. Cliff said, it's a faster write-off. Yep. And I think, you know, you have to, I'm obviously not a tax attorney. You'll have to check with the what the tax laws are, but I think you can expense quite a bit. You know, if you've got a $5,000 item, for example, I think you can expense the whole thing in 1 year. Clint says, no commercial. Well, darn. Well, we're kind of doing a commercial right now, Clint. Clint got a laptop from us that we equipped for him, equipped with Vmix for him. And I hope that laptop is still doing well. Cliff says, I am a regular idiot. I am not a regular idiot. There's nothing regular about me. I am a streaming idiot. There you go. Streaming idiot. Is anybody out there using touchscreens for their production? I know RJ uses them and really likes them. I am not a fan. I really love my XKE XKE or XK80, which doesn't have 80 keys right now. It's got less than that because I've got a bunch of quad keys on there. And it's not set up like a traditional switcher or anything else like that. It's just a smorgasbord. As I add a shortcut, I add it and I do something with a button. As you can see, all sorts of different colors, some different shapes, and it works for me because I know where those are, and it's just one of those things that happens to work for me. But I love the X keys for sure. Clint says his laptop works great, fabulously. Dan says he does touchscreen only for Vmix Social. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. I bet I could set up Vmix Social here on my Surface. Let's try that real quickly. What is that Vmix Social address? And I can give you the address because you won't be able to, you can put it into your computer, but it won't matter because it's a different network. 192.168.1.66 :8089. And there it is. That is Vmix Social on, you know, what essentially is a tablet. So I can take that. Now I'm not using lower thirds today, but I can take this and let's see if we can get up there close enough where you can see it. Nah, it's got too much light on it, but you get the idea. So I'm going to take that. It's going to bring up that menu, and all I did was tap it with my finger. And if I had a lower third, well, let's put a lower third in there. Yeah, sure. If we're going to set the example. Title Yeah, we're going to use a social, GT Social. I don't want it to take up the whole screen. So we'll just do a little fun one like this. There we go. And this will be a fun one. And we will assign that to Vmix Social. It is Social 6. Is that it? Social 6. Yep. Okay. And we'll refresh it. And so now we have something that looks like that. Let's come back and overlay it. There it is. And so I'm going to send this title to it, and there Dan's got it. I mean, it's literally that simple. So I can pick out another one. This is the one from Cliff Sobel, and I'll send it, and there it goes. Must not have it right. Let's try another one. This is a longer one from Anderson. And there we go. So there you go. I will say, as somebody doing a one-man production, it's not easy to do that. Read the posts, decide which post to use, and put it here. You'll notice that anybody that's using Vmix Social is using a second person somewhere to do that. Even last night with the Vmix Fun Time live show, you know, they covered up, Martin was here and Tim was here, but then Tim was covered up by a Vmix Social window where they, or overlay where they could ask questions. So we'll send that. There we go, it's Clint's. Me no like touch screens either. I'm too often touching the screen to show people stuff on it, and then suddenly everything changes. Oh, and here's my favorite comment of the day. Yes, I want to speak to you too. There you go. That's cool. That's cool. Let's see if I can find a good long comment. This is a good long comment from Daniel, and it fits in there okay. It's a little small. You know, if you're trying to read this on your phone, it's probably not very visible. And probably half of the people that watch this show watch it on a mobile device, either a tablet or a phone, according to Facebook and YouTube. And that's one of the reasons too why the image of me fills up so much of the screen, is because I assume it's going to be on a smaller screen. And if you put me on a 5-inch, a 55-inch, 65-inch, 82-inch TV, you're on your own, buddy. Yeah, you go. All right. Well, let's see. Let's try one more thing here and see where we are with it. Yeah, there we go. All right. Well, guys, yeah, now I want to go touch the screen here, but it's not going to do anything. And I guess if I had my web controller up on my tablet, I could control it there, but it's too much. It's too easy to use the X keys. That's right, too easy to use the X keys. Well, I appreciate you guys popping in today for the show, and gals. If you're watching this after the fact and we can help you in any way, shoot us an email. EasternShoreBroadcasting.com right there has a contact page, or you can put Tom at in front of it and send me an email. You can go to Facebook, to our Eastern Shore Broadcasting page, and leave us a message. You can go to Facebook to the Streaming Idiots group and join if you're not already a member. Or if you are a member, of course, you know you can chat away. If you do want to be a member, though, remember you have to give us your email address, not because we're going to spam you, but just because we want to hold you accountable. We don't want you to be an anonymous person out there that's going to come into the group and do something untoward. So, so you have to make yourself known in that way. And we'll probably occasionally spam you, but not very much. So thanks, Dave. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Tommy. Don't forget to click on that thumb button. Oh, golly, something I've forgotten to do already. But it was great to have you guys around. I will see you next week, and we'll have more great info coming to you next week. Plus, don't forget about the replay show. I mean, the replay class. And the football show. Yeah, that's got it. All right, we're going to let this run out, and we'll catch you soon. Thanks for hanging out with me.